Hey, it's Customer Solutions 8, and in this video, I want to talk to you about IDFA. IDFA, Identifier for Advertisers. This is something that Apple rolled out, and it's not recent per se, but I think the implications are relatively recent. And to be frank, it's a topic I've been avoiding because I don't know what to say. But somebody called me out recently and said, "Hey, dude, you gotta go out and talk about this. We need some input." So I'm going to bumble through this the best that I can. This video is about the implications that IDFA is going to have on advertisers, specifically Google Ads. Facebook is in a tougher spot because Facebook doesn't have its own operating system. And so some of the things that Google can do to kind of bridge the gaps, Facebook doesn't have the ability to do. It's also why Facebook has been quite the squeaky wheel when it comes to IDFA, where Google has been relatively quiet. Now, Google being quiet makes me think that they actually have the ability to bridge some gaps. And this is where I start to get out of my depth. So forgive me for being a little speculative, but I think there's some of the information that Apple's going to restrict. I actually think Google is going to be able to fill in the blanks. And I think they're going to be able to fill it in using some of the same technology that they're using inside of the new version of Google Analytics. So instead of relying solely on cookies, Google is using other indications of what's the word that I want, of an identifier of who you are, and kind of using a bunch of different informations like the IP address and device thumbprint and Wi-Fi network and whatever in order to kind of triangulate who you are as a person. And that ability has left them, I think, a little less susceptible to the IDFA changes. But if you're not familiar, what has happened is Apple's basically said, hey, we're restricting everything that we're giving you, and they're acting as a proxy. Sort of. So they have their own unique identifier, their own token that they're offering to advertisers that will connect back to the specific user and allow advertisers to track that user if the user chooses to opt in, but still at arm's length in a way that protects the user in theory. And I might have even done a bad job. I potentially butchered that definition, but that in a nutshell is what it is. So the IDFA is meant to help with privacy concerns. It's not the first time that Apple has wholesale just decided we're going to do things different than everybody else. And to be frank, it usually works out to their advantage. But the other advantage that it works out to is, interestingly, is Android. So here's what I think is going to happen in a lot of instances is we're going to see people using the Android data in order to fill in the blanks of what they can't capture on Apple. And what that means is I actually think we're going to see increased spend in a OS prioritized market. So we're going to see more advertisers spending into Android, not because it's more valuable, but because they can use that information, because it stands to reason, like if 70% of Android users do this, it stands to reason that 70% of Apple users are going to do that more or less. And even if that's not necessarily true, it's the only thing that you're going to have because you're losing so much information. I've heard some notes from various sources saying that Facebook's just not going to play with IDFA at all. I don't know if that's true. I don't know enough about the inner workings of Facebook. I know that Google plans on being compliant to the point to where they're actually like using Apple's API and jumping through the hoops that are necessary in order for them to continue to quietly collect that data. But I also think that Google's going to find a way to hurdle. And this is where I start to I'm so ignorant on this particular topic, so it's dangerous for me to even say that. But I just think that there's going to be the ability for Google to fill the gaps because they're not going to be solely dependent on just the particular device. I think there's more information being passed along that Google then is able to use potentially. So anyway, interested in your thoughts and opinions on this. If you have more information than I do, if you have a better opinion or disagree with what I've said, I'd be wide open to hearing it. I appreciate y'all watching. And I'll drop a couple of links in the description for articles that you can read if you're interested in learning more about IDFA. Other than that, give me a thumbs up if you like the video, subscribe if you want one every day, comment if you want to talk to me, and I'm going to see you tomorrow.